We want to be able to, as a group, assist other families in helping their loved ones.
Tonight, the family of one of the 4 women killed by a non-Indigenous man in Winnipeg is taking to the streets to protect those most vulnerable.
I was hoping and praying that they would contain the fire, but I guess once it was in the roof, it was hard to get at.
A First Nation in Saskatchewan loses their only school. What's next for the students when they return in the fall? And APTN Investigates beats out the competition and wins big in Toronto. Good afternoon, I'm Cree Nation. Welcome to APTN National News. A new patrol group is hitting the streets of Winnipeg next month. It's formed by the family of a First Nation woman who was murdered by a Winnipeg serial killer in 2022. They hope to use their experience to prevent more tragedies like this in the future. Sav Jonza has more.
Family members of Morgan Harris are taking things into their own hands.
It's time for us to turn our grief into action.
Morgan Harris is one of 4 women a Winnipeg serial killer has admitted to murdering. And as Jeremy Skibicki's trial for their deaths continues, her cousin and daughter are hoping to keep other unhoused Indigenous women safe.
When I look at things as a whole, over the last few weeks from the trial, and hearing of some of the things that my cousin had to endure, like being thrown out of a shelter 1:50 in the morning, when she was missing, who was really out there doing that footwork. We want to be able to, as a group, assist other families in helping their loved ones, whether that be through, looking into shelter space for them, maybe treatment if they're battling addiction. So just some of those different areas.
Morgan's Warriors is a new patrol group hitting the streets of Winnipeg. Melissa Robinson has years of experience under her belt through her time with the Bear Clan Patrol, but she says Morgan's Warriors will have less red tape and restrictions.
This type of work is a 24/7 type job. This for us is about our women. This isn't a photo op for us. To get out there, walk for a couple of hours, take some pictures, hand out some food, and call it a day. Our work with this will never stop.
Harris's youngest daughter, Elle, says she hopes to lead the walks one day.
When I go out there and I see all these people sitting there and they have nowhere to go, and I have a home to go. I have money that I could be putting back into the community. I have the mental capacity to be doing so to help these people heal, and so many others do.
They hope to begin patrols next month without the help of Winnipeg Police.
We obviously do not have the best relationship with the Winnipeg Police, nor do we have faith or trust in them. They failed my cousin already, and they failed many other women. So do we want to have that part of them being associated with us? No. I'm sure we can figure out things on our own.
Harris adds that the community they want to help doesn't trust the police either.
They know we're going in there just to look for a person or just to pick up the used needles on the ground. They know they can trust us. Otherwise, if we had the police with us, they would not go near the door. They would not go near us. They would walk away.
Robinson says Morgan's Warriors are eternally grateful for any support they receive and to join their Facebook page for updates. Sav Jonza, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
The inquest into the death of Haven Dubois continues this week at the Royal Hotel in Regina. Numerous witnesses testified, including 2 boys that were with Haven the day he died. Mick Favel has the details.
The inquest of the 2015 death of Haven Dubois continued on Tuesday, with various experts and witnesses sharing their testimony. The school liaison officer from Haven's high school testified about the events of the day Haven died. She said Haven's phone was not found that day, but 2 days later was found in possession of his friend, the same friend who found Haven's belongings and brought them to his house, setting off the search for Haven. 2 other people who were with Haven hours before he died also testified. They claim to have smoked marijuana with Haven near their school, but have different recollections on Haven's behavior that day. One said that Haven was acting erratic, having a panic attack, trying to climb out of the car they were in. The other said that Haven was his normal self. A toxicologist who also testified mentioned Haven did have marijuana in his system, but nowhere near dangerous levels. The inquiry will be concluding tomorrow, with more witnesses to testify, hopefully shedding more light on Haven's death and the investigation. Mick Favel, CTV News, Regina.
Rochelle Dubois, Haven's mother, walked out on day 2 of the inquest upset over testimony from pathologist Dr. Amer Khalifa on Tuesday. Dubois said she disagreed with the doctor's assessment that there were no injuries on Haven's face. Rochelle was the one who found her son submerged in the water and points to a scratch he had on his head during that time. She is also upset that some of the key witnesses did not show up for the inquest. We will hear more from Rochelle on the inquest later this week. It has now been 14 days since a man has gone missing near Nisichawayasihk Cree Nation in northern Manitoba, with numerous search parties combing the area in and around the community of what was also formerly called Nelson House. 32-year-old Christopher Travis McDonald from the Nisichawayasihk Cree Nation has been missing since May 16th. According to Manitoba RCMP, McDonald had been camping in a bush with a group of people on Highway 391 west of the First Nation and left camp on foot. Extensive searches and patrols have been done by Nelson House RCMP, RCMP Search and Rescue, as well as the use of RCMP police dog services. The community has been praying McDonald is found safe. Christopher Travis McDonald is described as Indigenous, 6 feet tall, 143 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. He was last seen wearing a black and white Echo sweater and black pants. If anyone has information on McDonald's whereabouts, you are asked to contact Nelson House RCMP or Crime Stoppers. The Waterhen Lake First Nation in Saskatchewan, located about 300 kilometers northwest of Prince Albert, is mourning the loss of their K-12 school after a fire broke out on Tuesday, just one day after the community held their grade 12 graduation ceremony. According to the First Nation, the fire started at around 12:30 p.m. on Tuesday, and smoke could be seen coming from the roof of the Industrial Arts and Shop classroom. Students and staff were quickly evacuated while emergency crews fought the blaze. The Meadow Lake Fire Department and crews from other nearby communities assisted, but the fire quickly spread. Councillor Carolyn Bernard says it will take years to rebuild the school, and so far portable classrooms are being planned for the fall. Mental health supports will also be available for the community members. Saskatchewan RCMP is investigating the cause, and security is keeping people away from the site for safety reasons. Councillor Bernard says the loss for everyone is immense.
It was really spoken, so I figured in my mind I was hoping and praying that they would contain the fire. But I guess once it was in the roof, it was hard to get at. So the damage was burning between the roof and the ceiling. Well, a lot of people are really sad about it. It's a big devastation because that's the hub of our community. That's where we have our gatherings. That's kind of the big hall. We use our gym, and we have our wakes. We have our funerals. We have our graduations. We have our community dances. We have our round dances.
Following NDP MPP Saul Mamakwa's historic address in his language of OG Cree at the Ontario Legislature yesterday, the leader of the opposition took the opportunity to go after the Ford government over a number of Indigenous issues. NDP leader Merritt Stiles hammered questions to the Minister of the Environment, Andrea Kanjan, about the ongoing mercury contamination in Grassy Narrows First Nation. Here's some of that exchange.
It has come to my attention, Speaker, that none of the ministers since 2018 have even set foot in Grassy Narrows. I want to know when this minister or somebody else from this government is going to go to Grassy Narrows, is going to treat this issue with the urgency that it demands, and stop the poisoning of the people of Grassy Narrows.
Our first order of business of this government was to correct a historic wrong. And our first order of business was to ensure that we do take action on a progressive path forward, including the necessary supports and benefits, and ensuring that they are marked to inflation and the necessary supports are there. And secondary to this is working with Indigenous communities, the expert panels, and as has been the plan all along, to remain committed to ensure that there is a significant path forward. And this week proves a few commitments that we have on a path forward. But Speaker, as I mentioned, this is a very complex issue. It has been a historic issue. It's multi-jurisdictional. But know that this government will continue to correct a wrong and have a path forward.
A blind Indigenous man who lives in the North has been fighting for his livelihood back. We'll tell you more about that story when we return. Welcome back. For those living with a permanent disability in the Northwest Territories, accessing income assistance can be an extra burden. Our reporter Charlotte Mort-Jacobs explains how miscommunication and a complex bureaucracy has left one family to go without.
Almost 1/4 of people living in Bechecoon, Northwest Territories rely on income assistance. And when someone is denied that lifeline, it hits hard. Chris Dryneck, a Klitcho Dene, has been blind since birth, relying solely on income assistance for over 3 decades. But for the last month, his family has gone without.
I can't go out and get a job and work for my wife and my daughter. I can't go hunting for my wife and daughter. I can't do anything. I am blind. I don't have education. And income support cut me off. I still don't know why.
His wife Sharon faces employment challenges. She cannot read or write, and their 12-year-old daughter also lives with a disability. Along with this empty fridge, they've been forced to cancel medical appointments, unable to cover travel costs. Dryneck says the NWT Income Assistance Office in Yellowknife is investigating his 2023 CRA Notice of Assessment. After his wife worked as a janitor a handful of times, his options: produce paperwork to Yellowknife Income Assistance or be cut off.
We can't get it from here. It's got to be done from Yellowknife. So we have to hire somebody to take us to Yellowknife and back here and to get those documents. And we pay $200 every time we take a trip to Yellowknife. And we don't have that kind of money. This income support is our lifeline. This income support, we need it. We depend on it. My wife works here and there. We get $1,200 every month.
3,000 NWT residents are on income assistance, mostly long-term. Manager of Income Security Programs, Sarah Madsen, says paperwork isn't in plain language and can be cumbersome. Last year, only 19 clients appealed denial decisions.
Client navigators do let people know that they can appeal. I think there's fear on both ends for both the client navigator and the individual about appealing. It is definitely a process that's worth following through with. Being on this side of things, when I was a client navigator, I was terrified of an appeal. But on this end of things, it's a good opportunity for us to take a look at our policies.
Manager of NWT Disabilities Council, Janelle Joseph, says often clients didn't realize when signing paperwork that income assistance has the authorization to contact CRA, collect their tax return, and scan their bank accounts. She says client navigators aren't always knowledgeable of exemptions disabled residents are eligible for, like waiving the cost of ambulances and general identification cards.
A lot of our clients, we're a disability organization, they have disability. It could be physical or cognitive, so they're very concrete usually. So if you tell me I'm denied, I don't qualify, I think I never qualify for it, so I don't want to apply again. I don't know I can appeal the decision. There's no navigators at Income Assistance to help people like appeal or let them know what the next steps are. They don't have that.
On the refusal form, there's no spot to even outline why a client has been denied income assistance. In theory, everyone is permitted an advocate. In practice, Dryneck says his hasn't been allowed on any phone call meetings to start the appeal process.
When we got kicked out of income support office last week, we got home, me and my wife, we both had tears because we were treated that way. Yeah. And a minute later, our phone rings from Inca Support. She said, "Chris, come back." I said, "Why?" "My manager wants to talk to you and your wife alone."
The territorial government acknowledges the system isn't perfect. That's why this summer they're changing it, so residents with a permanent disability and seniors won't have to apply every month for support. Instead, they will only have to apply annually, and if they qualify, get support for 1 year. But for Dry Neck's family, that shift won't come soon enough. So in the interim, they'll try to sell what little electronics they have and wait 60 days until they can apply again. Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Bechecal.
The Yukon government is introducing a new attendance policy, one that recognizes Indigenous students' cultural events. Officials say the new policy respects the educational value of Indigenous students' cultural practices. The policy ensures absences are not marked negatively on student report cards. It also extends to other cultural or religious activities, recognizing the diverse backgrounds of all Yukon students. The government says the change allows for a more respectful approach to documenting students' engagement with their cultural and religious backgrounds. The new policy is now in effect for all students. The Cumberland House Cree Nation in northern Saskatchewan has declared a state of emergency because the only road in and out of the community has been washed out. Heavy rain last week washed out Highway 123, leaving more than 2,000 people without safe access to essential services and emergency supplies. A petition is being sent to the Saskatchewan Ministry of Highways, and it now has more than 2,000 signatures in support of asking for assistance in fixing the road. According to community members Janelle Thomas, not only is the road limiting access to services, it's causing serious damage to their vehicles.
There's so many people that are affected over there that highway is just atrocious. You know, driving through there is causing so much damage to vehicles as well.
Saskatchewan Highways says they're going to Cumberland House to discuss road repairs in the near future. APTN investigates one big last night, and we have another interesting story from Tina House. Stick around, we'll be back in less than 3 minutes. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Ashley Mitchell shares this adorable picture of little Vernon Cass. Ashley thought his smile might bring some joy to our viewers, and I think she's right. Thank you, Ashley. What a cute bebe. If you have pictures to share with our viewers, send it to share@aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Over on the East Coast, St. John's 23, Charlottetown 18. Northern Quebec, Kuujjuaq 11, La Grande River 16. Southern Quebec, Quebec City 20, Montreal 21 with sun. Southern Ontario, Toronto 18, London 19. Northern Ontario, Timmins 22, Wawa 16. Northern Manitoba, Churchill 18, Norway House 22. In Gimli it's 22 and Brandon 22, cloud and rain. Saskatoon 17, Regina 18 with clouds as well. Stony Rapids 17, Buffalo Narrows 14 with rain. Northern Alberta, Peace River 17, Grand Prairie 15 with rain as well. Lethbridge 17, Red Deer 16, rain. Campbell River 15, Quesnel 15. Fort Nelson 15 with clouds, Smithers 15 with rain. Old Crow 16, Mayo 17 with rain. It is spring. Watee 13, rain. Fort Simpson 18. Nuvik 2, Colville Lake 15 with sun. Baker Lake 6, Chesterfield 3. And Arctic Bay -1, Aglulik -2. A short film by an Indigenous multimedia artist from British Columbia is currently touring the film festival circuit internationally and winning some major awards along the way. APTN's Tina House has the story.
The horizon is an ignited flourish of fire, shades of burnt orange and gray, like a warning. In dreams, I swim freely in turquoise water, a woman unchained by trepidation. I built
Night Swimming is a short film written, produced, and directed by Andrea Grant. Grant, originally from a small First Nation on Penelakut Island off of Vancouver Island, now makes her home in Orange County, California. For Grant, a poet who mixes her spoken word with multimedia, created Night Swimming, her second film following her first successful film, Modern Native, that she released a few years ago.
I began writing a poem, and I thought about how water to me has always been very feminine, and I wanted to write something that would encompass the emotions of women. So the tempests, the rainstorms, the ocean, and just really have something allegorical that would be that powerful and that would get into Native culture, learning from your ancestors, all of that, those themes that I like to draw in.
Andrea spent many years in New York City as a sought-after model and led some big ad campaigns. She eventually moved to Southern California and successfully created her own comic book series called Minx, where she is a superheroine in a storyline who surrounds herself with wild wolves, protecting Indigenous people from the harms of evil. She says filming Night Swimming took 3 days of intense shooting, but she says she is proud of the completed film and excited to share it with audiences worldwide.
And it's been gratifying. It's been everything from Berlin to Tokyo to Canada, of course, through the United States. And it just keeps on going with the festival circuit.
And so far, Night Swimming has won 2 Merit Awards and an award for Best Makeup. Grant has some advice for upcoming artists who also want to pursue their dreams like she did.
Just start. The hardest thing is getting started. You don't have to worry about the end result right away. Just start your project and figure out a way and get it done. And then everything will be revealed. Your next steps and such as you create, you'll begin to visualize, and you just have to stick with it. Perseverance, I think, is the toughest thing for an artist.
Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
The Canadian Screen Awards for News, Entertainment and Sports were handed out last night in Toronto, and APTN Investigates walked away with 2 awards. APTN Investigates won for Best News or Information Series, besting the CBC's The Fifth Estate and CTV's W5. It's the second time in 3 years that Investigates has won in the category. APTN Investigates video journalist Rob Smith also took home the award for Best Photography News or Information for the episode Reawakening the Mountains. APTN News and Current Affairs were nominated in 5 categories this year. Earlier today, Little Bird, the APTN Crave limited series about the impacts of the 60s scoop, took home 8 awards in categories like Best Costume Design and Best Photography Drama. APTN is up for 30 CSAs this year, which are being handed out all week, culminating with the gala event on Friday. And that's your newscast for this Wednesday, May 29th. From everyone at APTN National News, thank you for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow.